I've got my list here that I put all of this time and energy and effort into writing the other day, and look what's fucking happened to it. This is why you can't have nice things. Anyway, it's there if I need it. So I want you guys, as we're going through this session, to be really seated in your bodies, like really connected in with your physical bodies, because we're going to go through a whole bunch of health and wellness related stuff, and we're going to be kind of digging into and exploring what the physical body is representative of, the symbology behind the physical body. And there are general themes, and I'm going to go through a bunch of them. Can't go through all of them because we'll never leave, but I'm going to go through a bunch of stuff and just share some information about what the various parts of the bodies represent and what may be causing ailments or a sense of wellness in those various parts of the body. But I want you guys to feel into your own bodies as we're going through, and to get a feel and to get a sense of what you are building your body out of, and what your body is a representation of, and what the various parts of your body are representing and kind of symbolic of for you as well. So in order to do this, we have to remember and keep in mind that everything is energy. So that means that these bodies that you are occupying, they are the energy of the earth, but that energy of the earth is kind of built around and dictated and molded by the energy that is you. So nothing's just kind of physical in its own right, or just exists as something in isolation from all that is. Everything has purpose, everything has meaning, everything is significant and is symbolic of something. So it's not random, it's not like, oh, this is just how it is on this planet. These bodies in themselves are representative of some like overarching theme. And not just an overarching theme, but many, many, many things within that overarching theme that are being explored by this particular humanity. There's a feeling essence, there's a frequency, there's a vibration, there's an essence that seeks to express itself. Same with these. There's a general way and general rules about how humans look, but then there's all the uniqueness within that as well. And for each of you, there's going to be general themes, but there's also going to be a unique thing that resonates through every part of your being. It depends how you use your organs, how you use your body, what it means to you, what its significance is, what the symbolism is. And that's how we get to health, wholeness, and healing. It's like, wow, what's the ideal of that? What's the goal of that? And when we work towards the ideal and we achieve that goal, then woo, it's resonating in its ideal frequency. There's health, there's healing, there's unity, there's harmony. It's when things are misfiring, you're missing stuff, you're missing the point, you're forgetting the symbolism, or you're trying to force things, that we come out of frequency, we come out of harmony, out of homeostasis. So be in your bodies, feel what I'm sharing with you, but also feel where that is or what that is in you. Even if it's a bit different to what I'm sharing. This is all about getting in touch with yourself and finding how you achieve your ultimate and ideal state of health, harmony, and homeostasis. So I'm going to talk and you're going to feel. So we're going to start, and we have to start with the endocrine glands. The endocrine glands are associated with the chakras. And the endocrine glands, through the chakras, are how our physical body is immediately connected with who and what we are as the souls. It's like the way that the soul and the spirit docks into the physical body. The endocrine glands have a physical nature, but they also have a very, very strong and dominating energetic component to them that allows them to kind of be that in between. They are of the soul and they are of the physical body. So it's through the endocrine glands that instructions are received from the soul. So this is like the point of information exchange. And that information is received from the soul, and then through the endocrine glands and through the production of hormones, those soul messages are translated into physical messages, or messages that can be read by the rest of the body. It's like letters from the soul, or emails from the soul, being constantly received by the endocrine glands and translated into physical stuff that the rest of the body can work with. So the instructions on how to build the body, how you feel, the kinds of emotional experiences you're having that day, how fast your thyroid's gonna work, the sex hormones that you're producing, all of this stuff, how digestion is happening at that time. It's all just the physical stuff of the energetic messages that are being sent by the soul. This is the direct translation between soul and matter. And the body's built out of that. All of the organs and all of the systems in the body are run by and kind of dictated by these messages that are translated into the hormones of the body. And we have a number of different chakras in the body. You can have many, or just a few activated. And they all plug into the soul at different levels and at different frequencies. So we know we've got the base, that is all of that survival, primal, instinctual stuff. We know we've got the sacral, that's all of that kind of creativity, the creative flows, the sexual urges, the desire to reproduce. But mostly it's the creativity stuff. We've got the solar plexus, it's all of that kind of emotional, ego-oriented stuff. We've got the heart, that's all about that love connection, and the throat, that's all of that communication stuff. We've got the brow and the crown that connect us up into those higher dimensions. So there's different vibrations and frequencies in different parts of soul and ultimately spirit that you're directly connecting into through the endocrine glands, because all of these chakras have a major endocrine gland associated with them. So through the chakras, the energy is received, the major endocrine gland associated with that chakra is activated, and the messages are translated into physical stuff, or stuff that the physical body can use and respond to. So vital, very important. And as you move through the ascension process, different chakras are activated as higher and higher vibrations and frequencies of energy are made available to you. Different hormones are switched on, and ultimately you end up going through the process of having a whole bunch of chakras kind of activated in your immediate and physical body system that allow you direct connection and direct access to kind of clearer and closer to source aspects of you. And as that happens, it changes things in the physical body. Different hormones and chemicals are produced by the body in response to the energy that you are connected into through the chakra system. So the body can just run at a very basic and functional level with just the lower 3 chakras activated. But as you move into those higher chakras and you start to ground higher chakras into your body, then different hormones are produced. You become a different kind of creature, as the body needs to be able to respond to messages from different and varying levels. And the body has all of that built into it. It has all of the receptor sites that it needs to respond to all sorts of hormones that the average human just doesn't have coursing through their body. But that's available, that's built into the body. The organs are there, the endocrine system is there. So the endocrine system and the endocrine glands are our communication between higher levels and the physical level. It's the translation of energy into form. It's a plug-in point. And we'll go through some of the more significant endocrine glands later on, but that's just a place to start. And then we got the nervous system. And the nervous system and the endocrine system work hand in hand. The endocrine glands receive the energy and translate the energy into hormones, but into messages that the nervous system carries around the body. The nervous system is like your electrical system. It's the way that messages move through the body, and it's what enables the body to actually be able to physically and biologically respond to messages that are being received from the external environment, but from your internal environment as well. So the nervous system, if you let yourself feel it, it is like electricity. It's the electrical current that is running through your body. It's the communication of those messages into movement, into feelings, sensations. It's how you're able to react and respond to your environment and to the messages that you're receiving from those higher levels. And the nervous system runs through every part of you. Every part of your body contains these nerve fibers. It's what connects every part of your body to every other part of your body. It's what connects and creates the communication between the endocrine glands and the physical body. So this is your electrical system. And a lot of energy moves through the nervous system. And the nervous system, but in combination with the endocrine system, are big points of health focus, particularly for ones that have a lot of energy moving through them. It tends to be in the nervous system that people get overwhelmed because it's almost like there's too much information, too much energy trying to be pushed through the nervous system. And that's when you guys get anxious, it's where you get edgy, it's where you let some kinds of fear set in, it's where the exhaustion comes in and things start kind of misfiring and you feel stressed and you feel stretched because the amount of energy that's moving through your nervous system you feel is too much for your nervous system's capacity. It's not too much for your nervous system's capacity. So rather than viewing your nervous system as a really like solid and rigid thing, relax into your nervous system and understand how fucking adaptable it is. So much light and so much energy can be constantly coursing through your nervous system without taking an enormous strain and an enormous toll. But you have to embrace that stretch. You have to embrace the stress and let your nervous system adapt to it. because it can. And this is where I see a lot of you get tripped up, and where a lot of the ascension stress stuff starts happening, is that you're resisting and recoiling from the energy that is attempting to move and ground through your body. Just take a nice deep breath into your nervous system and feel how that electrical system can actually just go, like, it's enormous. The capacity is huge. The nervous system is adaptable. It's responsive. It can handle as much energy as is asked of it. But you've got to sink into the stress, sink beyond the stretch, and partner with the nervous system in a way where you're assuring it and reminding it that you can do anything. You can handle the load. It's not too much. Release the fear. Sink in, extend, expand, receive. It's okay. And the nervous system is very, very, very responsive to the messages that you're sending it. If you're in a constant state of, I'm stressed, this is full on, this is tense, I have anxiety, and those are the messages you're sending your nervous system, it kind of like tightens up around itself, and the ability for light coding and messages and energy to move through the nervous system is significantly reduced. But if you are present with your body and you are present in your nervous system, and you're sending constant reminders that you can handle anything, you can adapt, you can adjust, anything's possible, the nervous system responds to that. The nervous system is also directly connected in with all of your thought patterns, and is carrying those thought patterns and those beliefs around the body to all the organs, to all the tissues in your body. So the endocrine system receives the messages, translate the messages into physical stuff, and the nervous system carries the messages, carries the energy, carries the thoughts, carries the instructions around the body. The nervous system is also carrying messages from the external environment and from your life, and is a huge, huge, huge part of taking those messages, translating them back to the endocrine system that translates those messages into energy that can be understood and received by the soul. So the communication is happening the other way as well. Remember, I told you guys that that exchange back this way is constantly happening, and that you as a soul are creating your body and creating your life based on the messages that are being sent up that way. The nervous system is what receives those messages, translated to the endocrine glands, which translates to energy that the soul can feel. So it's also really important for that reason that you're always working with your nervous system as well, and that you're working to keep yourself calm. Guys get edgy. It's a very common thing for people to be edgy and to be reacting to the environment like you're being attacked. And then there's all these fear messages that are being translated and sent back to you at soul level. So you got to be able to work with the anxiety, work with the nervous system to switch it into rest and digest mode rather than fight or flight mode, so that the messages that are being translated are clear and an actual representation of what's going on for you on the ground. That stillness is so important for that. That presence with self, again, is so important for that. So it's the communication of the messages. It's the communication of the energy. Directs it. It's the messenger system. And the nervous system is kind of congregated around here. We'll get to that. But the head. You got this fucking head that is so fucking full and so active and so buzzing, and you all struggle so fucking much with your fucking heads. And the head, we can think of the head as being kind of like, it's like the power plant, I guess. So you've got all of the electricity that runs through the town, and then there's the center where all of that electricity is kind of being generated and processed and recycled, and it's ugly. It's always an ugly sight, isn't it? But it's like the center where everything kind of comes together, and then from that conglomeration of mess, things go out and they start to make sense. And that's what this is. That's what the brain is. You've got all sorts of hormonal activity happening here. So there's hormonal activity happening in all of the endocrine glands. It's being translated into electrical coding and electrical messages, but there's a lot of it happening here. It's really kind of congregated around here, again the guts as well, but really congregated in this space. And that's why so many of you struggle with that, because it's like that, the inner and the outer, and the nervous system and the endocrine system and the messages and the feelings and the hormones, and it all is kind of happening in this space, and it's directly plugged into your mental body and the mental messages, your mental bodies on those higher levels as well. So this is kind of like the center where all of that stuff comes together. It's made sense of, it's translated into something, and then it's brought out and through the rest of the body. So all sorts of electrical stuff happening here. It's like the motherboard. But there's also the potential for really clear connection, because this is also where the higher chakras reside. So there's the potential for really clear connection and communication with upstairs that can happen through here. But all of that jumbled mess needs to be calmed the fuck down and not be the center of focus. You guys get a bit too caught up in the circuitry itself and the motherboard itself, and you forget to connect up and beyond the immediate stuff of the head, so that the higher mental bodies themselves can kind of dock in and contain all of that. And you all get a feeling sense of that, what it's like when you're connected in with your higher self, and you let that land, you let that dock, you let that be the driving thing. It's like all of this settles down. Because when this tries to do it on its own, it's a fucking mess. There's anxiety, you're out of the moment, you're thinking about things, you're making all these fucking lists, there's fear, that you're thinking in the future, you're stuck in the past, you're pulling out memories left, right and center. Things get messy when you just let the motherboard fucking go and you start poking shit. You should never poke anything that has electricity running through it, but you do, you get your fucking screwdrivers and you go, whoa, oh, and connect this one up with that, and you make a mess of things in there. But when you actually connect in with the mother, not just the motherboard, the one that actually knows how to direct all of this stuff and built this, and you identify with that, then like the electrician is in the house. It's all good. There aren't sparks flying everywhere. There aren't messages being crossed over. There's not stuff happening there that's bringing you out of the moment and confusing you and causing you anxiety and stress. It's like, hey, it's all good. You serve me. And the messages become clearer. The electrical circuitry is all hooked up the way that it's meant to be hooked up. It flows naturally, and that's why when you let yourselves plug in that way and you surrender the mind to that, there's more stillness, there's more harmony. So this is the motherboard, and for those of you that have issues in here, it's to do with that. And this trying to be in control and trying to make sense of things and trying to have a human perception of stuff and cross wires and make sense of things rather than surrendering this up to the pro, that is the electrician, that is the big you, that actually knows how to run this thing. It's like too much jarring focus in here rather than the surrender. So this is the motherboard that could blow up at any second. So get your fucking fingers out of it and let the expert in. And that has a direct impact on the rest of the nervous system as well, of course, because a lot of those nervous system messages are being translated here. So the nervous system in the rest of the body receives messages and can translate those messages to any of the endocrine glands, but most of those messages end up here, where they are translated into energy for up there. So it's like a congregation point. It doesn't have to be hectic. There's a lot of space in there. There's a lot of potential for stillness in there. You just gotta, again, put your fucking screwdrivers down and stop poking shit. Let it be. Surrender it up. Let the communication flow in the way that it's meant to. And then we can go to our majors. So we talked about yesterday the bones. The bones are kind of like the structure of the physical body. Without the bones and without the muscles, they are a part of that too. The bones and the muscles will just kind of clump together as the structure of the physical body. Without the bones, you'd be a fucking blob. There'd be nowhere for your organs to go. If you didn't have your muscles, the bones would be a smash on the ground. So the bones are the structure of the body. The muscles combine with those bones to give them shape and to give them form. If you didn't have your muscles, I don't know what would happen to your guts. They'd fall into your pelvis, I guess, but your pelvis and your lungs would be, your ribs would be in the same place and it'd be a mess. So that's the structure of the body stuff. And if we're looking at the structure of anything, that's like the foundation, that's the rock. It's meant to be solid. So the bones and the muscles, the bones in particular, are really associated with power, with strength, with sturdiness, with steadiness. And if you have issues with power, that's where there's going to be issues with the bones. If you have issues with your own strength or you're scared of your own power, then the bones, the strength, the structure of the body are going to start literally degrading and demineralizing. And we see that a lot in our older generation because there's this acceptance and this thought and this way of thinking that once you get over a certain age, you become weaker. You start degrading. The power and the strength, the vitality becomes less. And because we have that belief, it triggers that. The power degrades, and you see that in our older people as well. They're not as strong as the younger people. That doesn't have to be the case. That is not a natural phenomena. That is a believed and a created phenomena. There's no reason for that degradation to happen. There's no reason for you to become weaker or less strong just because you're further on in years. Unless you believe, then it will be the case. So it's all that stuff to do with power and strength and stability and sturdiness. And it's all about embracing your power, embracing the structure, being comfortable in that, not wimping away from that, not being afraid of that, because a lot of you are afraid of your own fucking power. What will happen if I just let it roar? Let's find out. And then you've got the muscles that support the structure and support the strength, but are really about movement. So it provides a certain amount of extra stability to the strength. So there's the pure strength, that's the bones, and then there's the stability and the support of the strength, and the thing that kind of directs the strength and puts it into a shape that makes sense. Directs the strength, holds it together, gives it a purpose in time and space, and gives it a way to move through time and space. So there's also a certain amount of flexibility to that rigid strength. Bones don't bend. Don't fucking try to bend your bones, because you'll break them. It's that pure strength. Snap it, unmovable. But the muscles provide a certain, and the ligaments and the tendons, of course, provide a certain amount of mobility to the strength. A certain amount of flexibility. So that bones still don't bend, but they're a little bit more flexible, and they can bend around and with other bones and actually do stuff. So it's like providing the productivity to the pure strength. So if you've got issues with the muscles, and feel into your own fucking muscles, see if what I'm saying is true, then it's that the adaptability of the strength. The structure, the adaptability, the purpose, the direction, the use, the actual like physical use of that strength. The way strength and power are used. And then we've got our extremities. So you got your legs and your feet that allow you to connect with the earth. So the feet are really like that grounding thing, that connection with the earth, the thing that places the body on the ground, connects the body with the earth. And that's why we do a lot of our grounding through our feet. And the feet can feel that. They're like the communication between the earth and the rest of the body. So it's the connection with the ground. To some degree, it's the connection with nature, but it's very much that tangible physical connection with the earth. And then in combination with the legs, these lower extremities are symbolic and representative of your ability to move through time and space. They will allow you to be here and to actually be mobilized in time and space, to move around, to be located in a time and in a space, and to be active and moving in that time and in that space. So issues with the legs and or with the feet are going to be symbolic of and associated with that connection with the earth, that connection with this time and space, and your ability or your willingness or your judgment of being in time and space and moving through it, engaging with time and space. It's a visceral connection with this reality, with this dimension. And then we've got the arms and the hands. These are the way that you tangibly engage with life. These allow you to move matter, to touch matter, to connect with other people, to touch other people. So this is your movement through time and space. This is your manipulation of things within time and space. This is your communication with your environment in a very tangible and visceral kind of way. You've got the senses that are your communication with the environment in a different way, and we'll get to that. But this is like that very three-dimensional connection with life. You can move things, you can pick things up, you can reach out, you can touch someone, you can touch something, you can plant something, you can make something. This and these are how you reach out into the world and you viscerally, tangibly engage with it. You connect with it and it connects with you. You can send a lot through your arms and your hands, through the arms and then out through the hands, and you can receive a lot through the hands, up through the arms, into the rest of the body. These symbolize, when we're looking from that level, this is my connection with the earth, this is my ability to communicate with the earth, with earth stuff, with life, to give and to receive, to exchange. This is the way that I manipulate matter. This is the way that I touch and move things in time and space. And that is fucking important, right? So if there are issues with the arms and the hands, what's going on there? Is there judgment of being here, of connecting, of being able to reach out and engage? Or is there something else that you're focusing on? Maybe you really want to fucking work on just grounding in time and space, so you're born without arms this time. So you have to really focus on that. So all sorts of reasons. We're just talking about what these things symbolize, what they are extensions and expressions of. And these are things that we have decided are important for this version of humanity. We need to be able to ground, to be here, to be connected, and to engage. Engagement and the manipulation of matter and the ability to touch and reach out and to reach each other is a really important part of the overarching theme of this humanity. As is the surrender of the motherboard to something higher. So it's representative. And we've got, well, we can break it all down really, but we've got the torso, we've got the spine, which is part of the bones, but is also part of the nervous system. So it's kind of what connects the nervous system and that receptivity and those messages to the structure and to the strength. And it runs right down the center of our body, and it's vulnerable. That stuff's vulnerable. It's got those vulnerable codings and those vulnerable messages, and that part of the nervous system that's so integral and so potentially exposed and fragile is surrounded by that strength and held in place, but also given a certain amount of flexibility by the muscles. So that's like the motherboard extending itself out. And there's a very feminine thing in that, but there's also that very masculine thing that is that I will fucking protect you. Because if this goes, it all goes. There's no communication. One whack in the wrong way and this is cut off. That's got to be symbolic and representative of something as well, right? So there's the strength of all of the stuff that's moving through the spine, but there's also how fragile it is and how vulnerable it is, and there's also the strength to protect it. And the spine is very, very much that yin-yang thing. It's very, very, very symbolic of that relationship between the masculine and the feminine. Is they're working together so perfectly to keep that spine upright, to keep it intact, to keep it straight. And there's strength. That's where so much of your strength comes from. That's where so much of your structure comes from. But it's also where so many, all of the messages come from. There also has to be that receptivity. There has to be that preciousness. Because the spine in itself is fucking useless without all the spinal cord matter that's running through it. The messages are not being sent. So there's really that masculine, feminine thing that's being represented by the spine and held by the spine. And out through the pelvis as well, because that's an essential part of it. And when you understand the way that energy moves, it is through the chakras, but through the spine and then down out through the legs and into the earth. So there's that visceral connection with the planet again that we were talking about earlier. So the spine is all about, it's that strength, that sturdiness, that steadiness, but it's also that receptivity, that vulnerability, all of the messages, like it's communicating with everything, with every part. And there has to be this perfect combination of masculine and feminine for the spine to work in the way that is intended, and the nervous system to work in the way that is intended, and for the whole fucking body to work in the way that is intended. You can have it all happening up here, but if the communication isn't happening beyond here, this thing's lifeless. Doesn't matter how fucking strong your bones are, there's no activity. The messages aren't getting through. So there's really that receptivity and that strength that the spine is representative of. And that's why we have so many fucking back issues. There's so many of them because there's so many issues and people are so uncomfortable with either the masculine or the feminine or the way that they both work together. The combination of the two. People's spines are curvy in the way that they shouldn't be. That yin-yang has changed shape and is like, I'm making up for this over here and I'm getting away from that masculine thing over there, and there's all this misshaping and bending away from and recoiling from and bending in and all sorts of problems and slip discs and all sorts of stuff. And even the way that, again, the spine connects in with the pelvis. There's so much misalignment because of, I guess, the symbolism of how uncomfortable and how ill at ease people are with the masculine and the feminine working together in the way that they should. But when it is all flowing and the yin-yang is there, strong core, strong connection with the planet, really clear and precise communication of messages to all the different parts of the body. The reflexes are good. The ability to move through time and space is good. The clarity of mind, the messages that are being communicated back up that way, clearer. But that's the spine, and that's what's running through the core of the torso. And then we've got the digestive system. Who can guess what that's all about? That was a rhetorical question, but thanks. The digestive system is all about how you take life in and what the fuck you turn it into. Shit. You got it. That's part of the filtering system. We'll get there. So the digestive system is literally, and all the way from here to here. from the mouth to the anus, all the way through. The digestive system's symbolism is how good you are or how efficient you are at taking life in. You put stuff in, and then what you turn it into. And so many of you get so inflamed and are so reactive to the life that you put in, to the stuff that goes into your body. You have troubles, you can't produce the enzymes, you can't break it down, you can't absorb the nutrients, there's inflammation, it leaches out into your bloodstream, you can't poo or you poo too much, and there are so many problems associated with the digestive system. But ultimately what it comes down to is your ability to put life in and to turn it into useful stuff, but to also be able to filter out and excrete and get rid of the not useful stuff. So this is like the way that we engage with life, the way that we bring ourselves to life. We know we came here to engage with life, to take life in, absorb and use parts of life. Let them be run through an alchemical process as life comes into our body. Transmute, transform life into something that's useful, wisdom, experience, love, more life, and kind of reject and excrete the stuff that's not useful, but also release life once it has served its purpose. That's what's happening here. And your food, the stuff that's going into you, is symbolic of that. First of all, what the fuck are you putting in? So which parts of life are you open to? What are you exposing yourself to? Is it stuff that is of love, or are you letting stuff in that is not of love and that causes you harm? And that's the first thing, what's going in. But then how prepared are you to receive life? Do you want to hold on to everything? Are you afraid of life and you just want to push life away and keep everything out? So are you not pooing enough? Are you pooing too much? Are you blocked up? Do you have diarrhea? Because that's representative of your approach to and your receptivity and the way that you work with and engage with life. First of all, what are you letting in? And then what's your response to what you're letting in? If what you're letting in, what you're eating, is causing inflammation and causing problems and upsetting your digestive system and wreaking havoc, then you're probably letting the wrong fucking shit in. And again, not this, it's symbolism. This is a representation of it, what's actually going in, but it's more the symbolism and the way that you are engaging with life itself. What are you letting in? Some stuff will inflame you. If you are in fear-filled environments, if you are eating a shitload of processed foods that your body cannot break down, you will get inflamed. You will feel bad. You will feel sick. You can't actually digest what's coming in, and it's difficult to turn that life into love. Those life forces, those flows of life into love. It's difficult to eat heavily processed foods and actually break them down and absorb any kind of nutrients from the so-called foods that have gone in. So you're going to end up nutrient depleted, you're going to end up love depleted. Your vibration's going to drop. You're going to be lethargic. You're going to have low energy. You're going to have inflammation. You see how they're the same thing and they're representative of the same thing? You're going to feel like shit. Whether it's this or it's this, the way that you're engaging with life. So the right things going in, and then how sensitive are you to the things that are coming in, and how efficient are you at extracting the nutrients from the food that goes into your body and excreting the waste. And a lot of you really struggle with absorbing nutrients from the foods that you're eating. That's got to be symbolic of something as well. Life's coming in and you struggle with turning it into something that's useful. Because it's the wrong thing that's coming in, because you're repelled by what's coming in, because you're like, I don't want to engage with life, it's me and my process, and I only want to connect with myself, so I'm not letting anything in. I don't know. That's for you to feel. What's that symbolic of? But we have a lot of nutrient malabsorption in this group. Why are you eating all of that iron and that so-called good stuff, but it's not holding? It's not being turned into anything useful. Taking life in and turning it into love, turning it into something productive, turning it into something useful. That's what the entire digestive system is symbolic of. And there are different stages of that, and we could go through all that, but in general, that's it. And again, the ability to excrete waste is a really fucking important part of that too. You take life in, you turn it into love, you release it as love, you release the nutrients into your body so that they can be used in whichever way is appropriate. And then all of the stuff that you filtered out of life that is not love and is not useful, including in your own process, all of the stuff that's been filtered out that's fear, not love, can just be released. You release it into the toilet bowl. And how difficult or how fucking frequent that is representative of something as well. Some of you reject. You reject love, you reject life, you are fearful or afraid of other people and their energy and whatever life is trying to share with you, and you go eject. You can't absorb nutrients. You can't turn life into love if you're ejecting and rejecting everything because you're afraid of it. For some of you, you take stuff in and you fucking hold on to everything. You take stuff personally, you make it mean something, you want to sit and digest and stew on it for days before you let it go. You're taking experiences and you're carrying them around with you. That will literally block you up. For some of you, you alternate between the two. There's your IBS. So it's symbolic of, and it is the efficiency of taking life in and turning it into love. And then we've got all sorts of other disease states, like some of you get diverticulitis and fissures and all sorts of stuff. And that's all a part of and under the umbrella of your ability to take life in and turn it into love. And if you've got a specific thing in there, that's for you to feel into and to spend some time with. Like diverticulitis, that is literally the intestines creating pockets to hold on to more shit. So what the fuck do you think that's representative of? I want to hold on to more. Don't want to let anything go. It's personal. It means something about me. Let it go. Take life in, turn it into love. It should be smooth. The body should be able to do that. The body should be able to produce digestive enzymes. That's the transformational and alchemical process. The digestive enzymes and the digestive juices that are produced by the liver, by the guts, are squirted out when and before you eat. That feeling that you're hungry, that's the alchemical process. That's the transformation, that's your violet flame. That's the stuff that's like, yeah, give me something, I'm going to turn it into something really fucking useful. That's where the stuff is turned into nutrients. It's turned into stuff that can be used by the body. A lot of you struggle to produce digestive enzymes. For those of you that don't get hungry, for those of you that have taking apple cider vinegar, for those of you that I have imagining sucking on a lemon so that you can stimulate your vagus nerve, there's a whole bunch of you that struggle to produce. Struggle to produce your own digestive enzymes. You struggle to produce your own alchemical and transformational process. So that's the alchemy if we're looking at it symbolically. That's the stuff that once life is taken in, breaks it down, turns it into useful stuff, transforms it, changes its shape, and then lets that go and lets it be released into the body. Without those digestive juices, without that transformational fire, without that alchemical process, stuff goes in, it sits there, it ferments. You get gassy, you get indigestion, you start vomiting instead of pooping, you get heartburn, you get IBS, it throws all of your microbiome out because all of the parts that are in there aren't being fed the things that they need to be fed. Stuff goes in, it sits there and it rots. Right? Symbolic. It's the same this way. So when that's the kind of phenomena you're working with, you've got to look at that alchemical process. Where's the alchemical fire? Where's the zest? Where's the transformation? Why isn't the alchemy happening? And the liver produces that stuff. Liver's fucking great. It's like the grunt in the transformational process. The liver's the one that's like, I'm churning out all the fucking shit that you need to build your body. It's busy. The liver is so busy. It's a little powerhouse. Little powerhouse of the body. Creating all of the cells, breaking all the stuff down, creating the transformational fire. It's like it's the ferocious little worker in there. There's a lot of power in the liver. There's a lot of strength and vitality in the liver, and there has to be. And that's why the liver is often associated with anger, because it's such a masculine organ. And the processes that it's facilitating are very masculine. It is literally production. It receives messages. It's plugged into the endocrine system and the nervous system, and then it goes, yeah, I've got to churn all this stuff out, and it works really hard constantly, all the time. Love the liver. Without the liver, we'd all be dead. So the liver, very masculine energy, producing that alchemical fire in combination with the messages that it receives, because the liver is only going to produce that alchemical fire if it receives messages from the nervous system and the endocrine system that now is the time to do so. Oh, I'm in a relaxed state. I'm receptive. I'm open. The message gets sent through the nervous system that you're in rest and digest mode, and the liver goes, here's your digestive fire. Here are the enzymes. Let's get to work. Let's transmute, transform. Here's the alchemical juices that you need to take life in and to turn it into love. But if you're in a state of anxiety, and that's again what I was talking about earlier with the nervous system and with the head at the center of that, if you're in a state of anxiety and you're on edge and you're rushing around, then the message that you're sending through your nervous system into your liver is that you are in crisis. You are being chased by a bear. Now is not the time to take life in and turn it into love. Now is the time to survive. No digestive juices. Liver's taking instructions. And we know that. We know that we have these different nervous system modes, but predominantly there's rest and digest and there's fight or flight. If you're in fight or flight mode, you're in a shitload of fear, you're resisting life, you're resisting those flows, you're receiving information and translating that information into you being attacked. I'm being attacked by my own stuff or attacked by other people, or I'm not safe. And if you're not regulating that nervous system first, the alchemical fire isn't there. The alchemical process can't happen. You are not taking life in and turning it into love. You are reacting to life from a place of fear. You can't be in rest and digest mode if you're being chased by a bear or if you're being attacked. The body just won't do it, because the messages that are being sent to the digestive system are that now is not the time to absorb nutrients. Now is not the time to do something productive. Run. So you need to be able to switch yourself into rest and digest mode. And we know how that feels. That's how you feel when you're grounded, you're centered, you're connected to yourself, you're aligned with the higher self, and you're letting that be your predominant experience. And when you're in that space, liver receives messages that it's all good. Let the alchemical process happen. We are safe. We are secure in time and space. We can take life in and we can turn it into love. We have the capacity and the space to do that. And then your grunty little masculine liver receives that message from the feminine nervous system and goes, all right, here are the juices. Here's everything that you need. I'm ready to get to work. Let's get to work. And it's the grunt, the fire behind the alchemical process. Symbolic of. So this is what the liver is kind of representing in the body. And it's also able to heal because the liver receives messages that, certain kinds of cells need to be released or produced. And the liver, the little grunty masculine liver goes, all right, here's all that stuff that you need. And then the rest of the body takes it to where it needs to be and uses it and turns it into something useful. So it's the grunt, it's the powerhouse. But the messages that are being sent need to be clear. Otherwise, again, the alchemical process can't happen. You can't take life in and turn it into love. So that connection with the nervous system and through the nervous system and the endocrine system, again, are key in all of this. Without that, none of this works. None of this performs its function properly. You're not able to be in homeostasis and in harmony. So for those of you that struggle with the liver, that struggle with the digestive enzymes, there's something about that alchemical, powerful process that's not translating for you. Or the communication of that between the nervous system that's not working and not happening for you. So that's the alchemical juice. That's the powerhouse. And for those of you with anger issues, you are often going to feel it here because this thing's fierce, it's ferocious, it's masculine, it's powerful. That is where a lot of that is going to be centered. You just feel it. Take that in and turn it into love. And we've got the lungs. It's pretty obvious what that's about. That's like the translation of life force and vitality into fuel and food for the cells. And that's different to the liver. It's the same kind of process where it's in the digestive system, and that's what this is all about, taking life in and turning it into love. But it's a different kind of thing. This is a very visceral, tangible thing. This is more of a higher dimensional, spiritual kind of thing, the way that the lungs work. So this is like what you are taking from your three-dimensional reality, the life that you're engaging with, what you turn it into. This is more of that, what are you breathing in? It's light, it's airy, it's subtle, but it's the food and fuel for the cells. It's the life force itself. So taking life force in, that's more of a feminine thing. Can you feel the difference between that and the masculine digestive system? It's like the receptivity of life force. And this is the center where that life force is combined with your physical stuff, put into your physical stuff, and then set free to be carried around the body. So that's more of a feminine engagement with life force itself. And that's why we'll come back to our breath so much too. Are you breathing? Are you pulling life force in? But this is also a great center of detoxification. Like everything that you detox, and not everything, but a lot of what you detox and you break down is excreted out through the lungs. So that is an awesome point of transformation as well. You're taking life force in, you're sharing it and letting it be moved through your body, but your lungs are also receiving toxins, stuff from your lymphatic system, fat cells that have broken down, all sorts of stuff, all sorts of shit that was otherwise present in your blood and your lymphatic system, and it's just going, and breathing it out. And that becomes food for other things that breathe that in and turn that into something that's useful for us. It's an awesome exchange. An exchange with life force itself. And the lungs are representative of that if you feel like you're being attacked. Or if you're not detoxifying and releasing enough. The lungs restrict, they contract, disease sets in, a degradation starts to happen, but that's all about your connection with life force. And that's not just a three-dimensional thing, that's a multi-dimensional thing. The breathing in of that, the allowing of that into your physical body, and the release of that when you're done with it. So it's another essential part of taking life in and turning it into love, but it's more of a multi-dimensional thing rather than just being a tangible three-dimensional thing that you're working with. It's your connection with life itself. And then of course we've got the heart in the chest cavity as well. That's a little powerhouse. And the heart is how life force and nutrients and toxins and every other fucking thing is moved around the body. So it's the movement of these things. It's the exchange of these things. We've got the energetic messages being translated through the nervous system, but some of that is being translated through the cardiovascular system as well. But the heart is at the center of everything that's moving through the body. It's like everything that's produced that needs to be shared has to come through the heart first. Has to be checked by the heart first. It all moves through there, and then it's given to the blood, or it's taken from the blood in combination with the lungs. So there's that higher receptivity. There's a reason that the heart is so intricately and immediately connected with the lungs. The higher receptivity, and then how that is exchanged with the rest of the body, how that is shared with the rest of the body, how that communication happens. So it's like the movement of life force through the body, right out through the cardiovascular system. And the cardiovascular system goes all the way out through everything. You've got so much of it. It's in every part of you. And it's how life force is put into and moved through the body, and also how the waste is pulled out of the body and able to be released out through the lungs. It's the movement of life force. And then we get to things like heart conditions, and of course the heart is associated with the heart chakra. So it's all about love. It's like, here's the light. It's like what we were talking about yesterday. Here's the light coming in, and here's the love that is the activity of that light. The movement of that light. What that light produces. It's the light in motion. And that's what the love is. And there's a sharing, there's an exchange, there's a receptivity out through every part of the body. If the heart's not performing that function properly, where is that representative of something that's happening in you? Where's that exchange with life not happening? Where is the love not flowing? Where is that freedom not happening, or not happening consistently? Where is that receptivity not happening? Why is there misfiring? And it's the same like with blood pressure issues as well. Really low blood pressure, and didn't we say that most in this group have really low blood pressure? That life force, that love isn't being moved through the body ferociously enough. That exchange isn't enough. That engagement isn't enough. And we talked about this yesterday with the love stuff. You gotta actively love, you gotta actively engage, actively share, actively receive. And if the heart's faltering and the heart rate's low and the blood pressure's low and there's that lethargic, anemic thing, because the anemia is the blood, but is also directly connected with the life force that is or is not flowing through you. It's the distribution of the life force through your body. And if you're in that depleted state, then the love isn't ferocious enough. It's not fierce enough. The exchange and the sharing of that energy through the body is not enough. You're blocking it, or you're judging it, or it's scary. It's like the strength and the power component of the love is missing or is depleted. And there's an awesome combination of love and strength, love and power in the cardiovascular system. And the balance has to be perfect, doesn't it? Otherwise, things go up and all sorts of problems are reached, or things drop down and all sorts of problems come about as a result of that as well. So there needs to be that perfect balance. There's the life force, there's the love, there's the exchange, and there's the right amount of power and strength for all of that juicy, lovey goodness to be pumped out through every part of your body that needs it. And the right amount of juicy strength, lovey goodness to take all of the toxic shit from all of the parts of your body and bring it to your lungs so that it can be expelled. So the balance there has to be just fucking right. If you're uncomfortable with the masculine, or you're uncomfortable with the power part of loving or of lifing, then this is gonna go, which we see a lot of, especially you women who are uncomfortable with your power. The life force isn't flowing, the love isn't flowing. And then we've got the other end of the spectrum of the people where there's not enough fucking love and too much fucking ferocious power. And they're pumping shit, but they don't know what the fuck it is that they're pumping, and they're not breathing properly, and the blood pressure's up, and everything's popping, and the eyeballs are going, and no, gotta keep pumping, gotta keep going. And it's just like a masculine activity, keeping the blood moving around the body, and the blood's like, fucking hell. And the toxins are like, Jesus Christ, we can't keep up, we can't get out of here fast enough because the blood's just there and it's gone. And the organs are like, because the blood's not actually reaching them, it's just being forced into them and then forced back out of them. So that proper exchange at a cellular and an organ level can't happen because the power's too much and the love's not enough. So, tricky to get that balance right, but you can get that balance right. It can't be too, but it also can't be too, or the body suffers. So it's finding that middle ground. There's so much love and life force and love mixed with life force because there's the blood and the oxygen together. And there's the ferocity and the thrust that moves the life force and the love through the body and takes all the toxins and expels them. But it's not so much that you're causing harm and not so little that you're becoming literally deprived of energy, life force and love. And the exchange just isn't happening. So that's what our little hearts are, but also our blood, like our whole cardiovascular system, and just chucked the red blood cells in there with that as well. Needs to be built and developed, or you need to calm the fuck down and find that middle ground. So So it's our heart, our lungs. The thyroid is one of the endocrine glands. So the thyroid is one of the points at which the soul is directly plugged into and communicating with the physical body. And the thyroid, all of the endocrine glands are connected to each other, all of them. And they're connected with every other part of the body. None of them function in isolation. There are certain frequencies of energy that they are more attuned to and that they send messages about in the body, but they're all connected to each other. So if one endocrine gland is out, it's going to have a ripple-on effect and mess up the communications and the messages that are attempting to be sent through the other endocrine organs as well. And the thyroid is a big one for our group. The thyroid is a big, big thing, especially for the women. And there's a few things with the thyroid. Obviously, the thyroid is centered in the throat and is associated with the throat chakra. And the throat chakra is all about communication. But it's like that communication with upstairs as well. So it's the ability to express yourself. That's where the voice is produced. That's where we take our the way that we can take our internal feelings and our internal thoughts and produce something that other people can hear and experience as well. So this is like the translation in physical terms of our inner experience into something that can be received by others. So it's taking that inner reality and turning it into something. We can do that through touch and various things as well, and through our emotional bodies and whatever else, but this is like the communication of that into something tangible. It's the translator. And it doesn't receive so much as give, but it's the translator. So if there are issues with the thyroid, there can be other issues as well, which I'll just briefly talk about, because the thyroid we could talk about for years. So if there's issues with the thyroid and issues with the throat chakra, the first thing to be looking at is that ability to translate internal energy into something that can be perceived by other. And where you're choked up about that, where you're perhaps too forceful with that, because the thyroid can be under-functioning or over-functioning. So too much, too little, holding back. But the other thing with the thyroid and what it is symbolic of is like it's the accelerator in the car. So the thyroid dictates how the body uses energy, basically. So how efficiently the cells use the energy that is provided to them. And if you have an overactive thyroid, the way that cells are using energy is like too much and too fast. The accelerator is all the way fucking in. So you filled the car up and it's got its petrol, but it's a fucking V8 and you've got your foot all the way down on the pedal all the time, and it's burning through the fuel really, really quickly. So you're like, "Rah!" And then you go, and you have to fucking fill up again. And the body struggles to keep up with that. So the overactive thyroid is the accelerator that's on too much. It's on too hard. And that's gonna be symbolic of perhaps an internal state. Perhaps you're one of those people that's like a bull at the gate. It's like, let's fucking go, 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 go. And there might be a lot of power and strength and overactivity and a lot of fucking energy moving, but the way that you're distributing that energy and using that energy is not necessarily how is intended and what's for the good of every other part of your body. And then we've got the underactive thyroid, which is like the person that has a normal car that's not a V8, that's full of fuel, But they're going really slowly and driving really cautiously because they're scared of getting in an accident. It's like the little nana who's doing 20 in the 60 zone. I'm just gonna go nice and slow so I don't have any accidents, and I don't use my fuel because fuel's expensive at the moment, and they're just meandering along and their foot is off the accelerator. They're not sticking to the speed limit. They are dangerously under the speed limit. And because that's the case, for those of you that drive a manual, it's like being in fifth gear going 30 kilometers an hour. The car's like... The fuel's not getting around. Things aren't being lubricated. Energy's not being distributed in the way that it needs to be distributed so that that car can actually just run smoothly and efficiently and actually reach its fucking destination before the day's out. So we're using the thyroid as an accelerator. And that's going to be representative again and symbolic of inner processes and internal dynamics. If you've been like a fearmongerer and you've been really powerful and you've caused a lot of mess with your power and with your overactive foot on the accelerator in the past, then perhaps a way that you pull yourself up is by pulling your foot way, way, way off that accelerator and slowing yourself down. And putting yourself in a state where even physically you're lethargic, you have no energy, you have no resources, you can't move, maybe you're anemic as well and your heart's not working properly. It's like a way of slowing the self down out of fear of going too fast or getting into another crash. Another full speed car crash with another V8 that also had its foot all the way down on the accelerator. So it can be like an overcompensation kind of thing. It can also be a way, and for a lot of you, I feel that this is the case, of slowing yourself down enough. It's almost like disengaging from life so that you can slow down enough that you can connect in with your spiritual selves. So it's like, the only way that I'm going to stop thinking and I'm going to stop racing around and I'm going to stop being anxious and I'm going to stop being edgy and trying to use my will and force things to happen and get in touch with my spiritual self is by easing right off that accelerator and forcing myself into a state where all I can do is receive. And this plays into that masculine feminine thing that has to do with the iron and stuff as well, because it's like I force myself into an anemic, energy depleted state so that all I can do is be still. All I can do is receive. I can't cause any problems if I'm in this state. I can finally feel and connect in with myself because you literally don't have the energy to do anything else or to resist. And I think for a lot of you, you use the thyroid in that way. You're scared of going too fast. You're scared of too much. Even if you're afraid of too much energy moving through your body and you not knowing what to do with it, just ease off the accelerator. So this is the accelerator. And then at other times you might get frustrated with yourself and I'm sick of being anemic and I'm sick of having no energy, and so I'm going to slam my foot down on the accelerator and go Rah! And then you're up and down and up and down and up and down. So you got to find the balance with that as well. You got to stick to the speed limit, you got to be in the right gear, and you got to be in the right car for where you're at and the process that you're undertaking. We don't all have to be in V8s. I'm in a V8. Well, I want to be in one anyway. We don't all have to be. You have to find the vehicle that's right for you, and then you've got to find how you drive that vehicle in a way that fuel economy is fucking great. You're getting the most out of your car. There's longevity. The car can last a really long time because you're not burning it out and you're stopping to top everything up. You're fueling up as you go rather than running it into the ground and then having to guzzle fuel. It's the accelerator. It's how you're running the car. And again, you've got to be in the right gear as well. And that ebbs and flows. The process ebbs and flows. The energy, the power, the love, the receptivity, all of that ebbs and flows. So there needs to be a flexibility there, but you don't have to just ride or pull off the accelerator to do that. You surrender that and you trust the process. Does that help? Accelerator. Taking my water in and turning it into love. All right, what else have we got? Obviously, we've got the senses. We've got so much, we can't do all of it, but we've got the senses, and they are also our engagement with the environment. They are also an integral and essential part of how we take life in and we turn it into coding, we turn it into messages. So we've got, like we talked about our feet, we talked about our hands that are our tangible connection with life. And we talked as well about how the nervous system is translating messages into coding that is translated through the endocrine system to the soul that then responds to that and sets up circumstances and situations in your life. And your senses all clump together. We're not going to go through them one by one. Your senses are part of how you receive messages from your environment. So they are an important part of placing you in time and space, but they're also how you perceive time and space, how you understand time and space. Because you don't understand what's happening outside of you because of your senses. You understand the world and what's happening around you and where you are and what you look like and what things smell like because of the translation between the senses and your nervous system. So the nervous system translates that information or that input into information that can be understood and perceived. So we only see things as being physical because our eyeballs are communicating with our nervous system in a way that tricks us into seeing things as being physical, when in reality we know that everything is energy. So this is kind of like what allows us to perceive the facade, what allows us to actually go into the play that's happening and be convinced that it is reality and that it's real. So little tricksters, our senses, but also an important part of actually being able to function here. So the senses are what, it's difficult to explain, but what places you in this here and now as it has been created. Without these, things would be very different. Things wouldn't appear physical, basically. Things wouldn't appear structured. Our grip on time and space would kind of be lost. So it's part of the costume that we as souls put on that allows us to click and lock into this particular frequency, this particular version of events, this particular reality, because remember, we've got fucking parallel realities and alternate universes literally piled up on top of each other in the same time and space. So the senses are what lock us into the frequency that we are meant to be experiencing. And if there's issues with the senses, then that's representative of something to do with perceiving this reality. Or not wanting to be in this reality, or trying to get out of it, or whatever. It can even just be that you want to master one of the senses more than the other. Or maybe it's that you really don't want to fucking be here. So it's like the connection with this reality that is ours. And the translation of that information into something that can be perceived and experienced. Because it's the nervous system that's translating everything that you experience into sensation. And then we've got the skin. which is symbolic of the semi-permeable membrane that is your boundaries or your lack of boundaries, right? It's a layer of protection that we have around our body. It allows some things in, it does not allow other things in. It allows for the exchange with the environment. A lot of stuff is released through our skin and taken in through our skin constantly. So the skin is symbolic of our protection, our boundaries, our energetic protection and our energetic boundaries, the semi-permeable membrane that we set up around ourselves. And there should be certain things that you let in, certain things that you don't let in, certain things that you let out, and certain things that you should not be letting out. And that you should be keeping inside and processing and sorting out internally before you release that thing with as love, hopefully. So it's a part of taking life in and turning it into love as well. This is your semi-permeable membrane. It keeps things in, it keeps things out. It lets things in, it lets things out. It's breathing and it's exchanging. And if you're having issues with the skin, feel into where that ties into and is linked with your semi-permeable membrane or your boundaries or your lack of boundaries or your brick walls that you've built up around yourself. If you build brick walls, like if this thing wasn't semi-permeable, you would die. You would suffocate and fucking die in your own skin. Toxins need to be able to be released. Stuff needs to be able to get in. Things need to be able to breathe. There needs to be an exchange with life. If you brick it up, you will very quickly suffocate and die of toxic overload. So there needs to be able to be that exchange. And a lot of you energetically have built brick houses around yourselves to keep all things out and to keep all things in. Well, my friend, you are very quickly going to die of suffocation and toxic load. There needs to be an exchange that's happening. Some of you are way too fucking permeable. There's too much exchange. You're letting stuff in that you shouldn't let out. You're letting stuff that's inside of you that hasn't finished being processed yet leak out of you and cause all sorts of conditions and issues. Representative of your boundaries or that semi-permeable membrane that you're meant to have set up around you. Very way too open. Where are you letting stuff in that shouldn't come in? Where are you oozing out all over the place that you shouldn't be oozing out all over the place? And again, important to look at where you've bricked yourself in as well, because that will also create toxicity. That will boil over and come out of the skin as you slowly suffocate and die in your body. And then we'll just do one more. We've got the sexual organs. And they are linked in. I mean, we could do so much on this because it's such an intricate, and there's so much tied in with that, all of that creative power, and it's different for men and women, but also the same for men and women. But we'll just briefly touch on it because we've done enough already. But we've got the sexual organs, and the sexual organs are associated with our chakra, obviously, and there's like a huge amount of hormonal activity that happens in the sacral. A huge amount of sexual activity. It's like the stuff that makes us a man and makes us a woman. And there's the female reproductive cycle, which is insane, like the perfect movement and production of hormones. And for men, your hormones are fucking insane too. They just don't fucking talk about it. And you guys are emotional as fuck. Like you say that women are emotional. At least there's a flow to it, and it's over a 28-day period. And at least we feel it. You guys are like, hormones spike and drop, and it's like at the drop of a hat, and at any moment you're angry, and then you're saying that we're emotional, and we're like, oh my God, what do you call that? Look at you, you're raging. And you're not feeling your feelings, and then they're exploding out all over the place, and we're like, dude, we're just in flow with the moon. Like, bloody hell, men saying that women are emotional. We feel them. You gotta feel them better. Keep up with that shit. Get your shit together. And there is also a cycle that you guys can plug into as well, but you just don't. You just don't let yourselves. We're better. I'm joking, we're not better. We're not better. It's all good. We're all the same.
What cycle?
Hey?
What cycle?
You feel it. Let yourself feel it. It's more like a sun cycle than a moon cycle. So we've got this enormous amount of hormonal activity, and fucking hell, so many people's brains are centered down here, and so much emotional stuff is centered down here. This is a huge point of focus for this humanity. This and this. Huge trials for this humanity. Because we've used this humanity has used this to separate the masculine and the feminine, and to become shit scared of creativity, and to say that creativity is in women. So we're shit scared of women and women being empowered and women's creativity coming to the fore, and we're shit scared of anything that seems like it's mystical or out of control, because we want to be able to think about everything and predict everything and figure everything out. So we created this great divide that's like mysticism, scary shit, emotional shit, non-logical shit, women. It's the feminine. She's the problem. Women are hysterical. They can't be trusted. They're emotional. They're this, they're that. They're weak. And we are powerful with our minds and our brains, and we can think about everything and figure everything out and use force, and we can conquer nature, and we can conquer mysticism, and we've got explanations for all of the magic that those hysterical women are going on about. Let's burn them. Let's drown them. Let's fucking get rid of them. And so this humanity is exploring this to death, and we find ourselves in an age where we've just come out of fucking hell, the dark ages, which was this division, scary, the only thing that makes sense. Let's lean way heavy on logic and thinking and power. And we've raised up that masculine, and we've worshipped it and seen it as being the thing and the cure-all, and look at where we're at. Whoops, mistake. Turns out you need both working together. And we're kind of at the turn of that, where we're starting, I mean, it still is ruling the world, because the old timers haven't died yet. We'll burn them, we'll drown them. Witches! But we're at a point where that's starting to turn a bit, and it is going a little bit hysterical as part of that turning, where emotions are running rampant, the women are pissed off, the men are like getting overly emotional because they've suppressed that and they've squashed that in themselves for so long, and no one fucking knows how to be whole or to be in harmony yet, and everyone's judging and hating everyone, and there's all this past life stuff about being burnt and being drowned and being the one that did the burning and being the drowning, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff from this age that we're moving out of that's bubbling up and it's surfacing, and it's literally coming out as some stuff that looks like insanity. I want to be free to be me, and it's all going a little bit wild and a little bit hectic and a little bit crazy, and it's unfortunate for men and women. Was it worth it? But it's part of the exploration. So we're moving out of this age where we've been massively exploring and focusing on, again, logic, intellect, dissecting, breaking everything down to its smallest parts, having power over nature. We're not scared of anything because we can control it. And now nature's going, now's my time to shine. You think you can control me? Raw. And that feminine thing is kind of like roaring out of the land itself and roaring out of humanity. And again, coming out wrong, but I can see that eventually we're going to end up in a place where all of it is accepted and all of it is seen as necessary. And there is more integration, and we overcome that great divide between the masculine and the feminine and the men and the women. And we just let people be as they are. Whatever the fuck they are, without having to identify what the fuck they are and do a big song and dance about it. Just be who you are as the soul that you are. Embrace the learning that you've chosen. Embrace the body that you've chosen. Love freely and completely. No one cares. And we'll get there. Hopefully it doesn't take another age that's as long as the age of the masculine that we're kind of moving out of. So anyway, lots of hectic stuff happening down here. So much emphasis on this, and it's just running rampant. But basically this is the center for creativity. And if you're having issues down here, if things are running rampant and they're out of control, then you've probably judged and suppressed your creativity. And this is probably why we see a lot of overly sexual focus, particularly in men. Women have it too, and we'll get to that. But why men are so fucking obsessed with sex, and their brains have moved down into their penises because they have been taught to suppress creativity, to squash it down, to not embrace that mysticism and the feeling, which is such an essential component of the creativity and is meant to be in men as well. The connection with nature, the connection through feeling, the love that's meant to flow through these creative centers. Men have been taught to fucking shelve all of that stuff because it's feminine witchcraft stuff and it's out of control, and just use your brain. And then all of that creativity is suppressed, and then all they can feel down there is sexual urges. Energy wants to flow there. Creativity wants to be unlocked. But for men, not all men, and it is changing, but for a lot of men, when they feel that creativity and they feel that energy flowing, they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to feel, they don't know how to emote, they don't know how to take that energy and connect with nature, connect with the sun, or to do something productive with it. So it's like the only outlet for it is to stick your dick in something. The only way to feel something or get some kind of a release of that energy is sex, or thinking about sex, or imagining sex. And I'm sorry guys, that fucking sucks, but you've got to face that, you've got to conquer that, you've got to reconnect with all of that creativity and redirect it in a way that allows you to connect with creativity and life itself in the way that's actually intended, in a way that's whole. This can't just be shut down and turned off, because then that creativity and that exchange can't happen. And that's how life happens. That's how you engage with life. That's a part of how you take life in and you turn it into love. That's a part of grounding energy, connecting with nature. This is meant to be alive. It's meant to be a center where energy flows. And a lot of you have this shut down because it's that same thing. You don't know what to do with it. You feel that energy, you feel those creative flows, and you think that it must mean sexual misconduct. And you've got so much judgment around that from the religious experiences and the times you've been told that it's wrong and you shouldn't and it's bad. And I'm not saying go out and have lots of sex. I'm saying reactivate those centers, bring that creativity on board, get comfortable with sexuality as one part of creativity, and let yourself actually connect with life in the way that you can. This is like a visceral, tangible connection with life. There's that spiritual connection with life, and this is like what connects you into it. There are parts of nature that you cannot feel if this center is shut down. And it's like Michael was talking about the other day. Eventually, when you get serious, the heart chakra drops into there. But not to replace that. This chakra ends up going down into the planet and is a part of your connection with the planet. Is a part of how you feel her. It's like you move into the planet and a part of you is literally in her and connects with her through these 3 lower chakras, but with that creativity at the center of those 3 chakras. She can engage with you, connect with you, exchange with you. But that can't happen. This can't come into here and this can't go into there until it's active here and it's purified and it's used in the intended way. And there's a balance there and you're comfortable with creativity and creative flow. And at the first sign of creative energy, you don't either shut it down, no, that's bad, that's wrong, we can't be alive in that way, or run off and try to find the closest thing that you can root. You got to recognize it as just being energy. It's a really awesome way when you are in a loving relationship with someone who can match you. It's an awesome way to love someone. It's one way though, and it's not the source of love. It's like a way that you can express love and you can exchange that creativity and that love of nature and that love of life. Awesome. But it's not the be all and the end all, and it's not something that you have to do or that you're driven to do or that it's all you can think about, or as soon as that energy starts flowing you have to run off and do it. That energy is always flowing, that connection is always there, the creativity is free to flow, and this is an important part of loving. I'm not sending sexual energy at everyone, it's got nothing to do with that. It is that creative engagement with life. You've got to be comfortable with it. You got to be at ease with it. But in order to do that, you got to sort out all your masculine, feminine shit. You got to sort out all your sexuality shit. You got to unsuppress and bring to life all of those suppressed and dead and smashed down parts. And then you got to bring them to life and refine them. Not just bring them to life and act them out because they'll want to misbehave. You've been suppressing them for so long, they'll come out sideways and want to do all sorts of stuff that's not of your best interest. So you bring it to life, get comfortable with feeling that intensity and that kind of energy. And with using it in a way that produces outcomes of love. And then the heart center ends up centered here. But that creativity, if anything, just intensifies. You're not going to get away from it. It's like in everything. It's your connection to everything. And it's a higher kind of form of creativity that then flows through these organs. So all of this sacral chakra, hormonal stuff, but also physical and biological urges and all of that, it's gonna be the creativity and the masculine and feminine stuff. Some of you women judge being a woman so harshly, and so you grow all sorts of cysts and things in your uterus to like block it up, and you're punishing it, and you won't let yourself ovulate because you're scared of creativity, and your periods are painful and horrendous because you resist the emotional and energetic release and relief that is your period and is your cycle. shut it down and you starve it of oxygen, you starve it of blood, so then you get all these cramps because the blood's not flowing and the life force isn't flowing, and your body has to force stuff out rather than it just flowing. All of this hormonal stuff, all of these hormonal issues, they're not hormonal issues, they are representative of another process, something that's going on for you internally. It shouldn't be torturous to be in flow and to have a cycle. It shouldn't be. If it's torturous or it's horrendous, there's this whole thing going around now like it's normal to cramp. It's normal to feel the cervix opening and to feel the pressure of the stuff that's about to fall out of your cervix. It's normal to feel ovulation as your ovaries release an egg, but you shouldn't be suffering and in pain. If you're suffering and in pain, it's because you're not keeping up with stuff, and that's how you're choosing to process that pain. So all this torture, it's normal to be in pain. Let's normalize PCOS. Let's normalize having to be bedbound for 5 days or 7 days of the month. What the fuck? You got some serious issues with your femininity. With release, with the cycles, with the creative flows. You're not keeping up with the pain through the months, so it's accumulating and then it's coming out as physical pain. Or it's exploding in your masculine temper tantrums where you punch the wall. Keep up with that shit. Keep up with the flows. And all of that can be corrected, but it's some really deep soul-searching stuff, and it's a really, really sore point for most of humanity and for most of you. And I know who you are because you're my clients. So, basically what I'm getting at here, we've gone through a whole bunch of stuff and hopefully there's some good insight in that for you, but it's all symbolic. We build these things in all of our experience to symbolically represent something, some other process that's being explored or unpacked or understood. So when you're experiencing physical phenomena, you always got to go to what's behind it. It's never random, you're never a victim to it. Why is that experience being had? What is it representative of? What is it symbolic of? And work with things at the root cause, rather than just wallowing in the symptoms. And that's such an essential part of empowering yourself and being the creator of your own reality. Consciously and deliberately. That's going to be a really long video.